This video is about St Benedict's School and St Benedict's Abbey, a Roman Catholic leading boys co-ed school now, and the culture of sexual abuse and paedophilia that has existed and still exists at the school and abbey at this moment as we speak, which is being expressed by the abbot Dominic Taylor, who likes to abuse sexual abuse victims through psychological methods, ignoring them when they write to them and not giving them information which they're legally allowed to have. I wish to talk about a boy called RCA24, which was talked about in a statement from IICSA, which is an investigation into child sexual abuse in England. This is very important because St Benedict's School is an absolute liar and St Benedict's Abbey is a liar, and the last 5 abbots at St Benedict's Monastery have all been involved in paedophilia, covering up paedophilia, or basically just trying to ignore and irritate sexual abuse victims, including the current one, Dominic Taylor.
What I wanted to get across was that monks had been behaving this way at the school for 60 consecutive years to 2010. The abuse scandal at St Benedict's was not just recent. It had been going on for a long time. Unfortunately, I think it was part of the culture at the school.
Soper and Pierce were not the first monks to be engaged in this activity. Soper and Pierce were both put into prison. They were put into prison for massive amounts of rape. Soper had 19 counts against him for sodomy and buggery, as well as Father David. They were both high up in the school and the monastery, serving as abbots, headmasters, teachers, bursars and novice masters. They were protected by St Benedict's and the Vatican and the nuncio Edward Adams. The nuncio is a diplomat that serves the Pope, and the nuncio had information about Lawrence Soper and refused to give the information to the IICSA, which is illegal. So he invoked diplomatic immunity. I didn't know that the Vatican liked to invoke diplomatic immunity to cover up paedophiles and to allow children to be raped. But now we do because it's on record. Paedophiles are quite strange people, and they have a very intelligent, sometimes, way of working. At the school, when they're in a position of power, they sort of look for boys to abuse and molest, and they take advantage of opportunities. One of the boys whose father had died was causing some problem in a Latin lesson in the 60s, 70s, so he was sent outside in order to, be punished. The boy was standing outside the class and a music teacher came along and said, right, you've got to go and see the headmaster, who was Lawrence Soper, buggerer and sodomizer extraordinaire.
I remember Soper saying to me, "You have a choice, either 6 over the desk or 1 over my knee." I was very clear that I was being offered the choice of either being caned 6 times on my bottom, this would have been overclothing, or being caned once but having to be on Soper's knee at the time, and thus at risk of sexual assault. It seemed to me quite noteworthy at the age of 13 or 14 I fully understood, and given Soper's behaviour anyone in the school would have understood, that Soper was giving me a choice of either 6 canings on the bottom or being sexually assaulted.
Now this guy, he talked his way out, he rationalised with the bloke, and by the luck of God, got out.
I knew that he would try to corner me on another occasion, so I was on my guard.
And they look for opportunities to get children, and he found it after some time. He saw the bloke talking mass to some friends and ordered him into his office after lunch. The boy knew what was going to happen. The boy knew he was going to be sexually abused. So what did he do? He just walked out of the school. Now this is a message to all the kids out there, because in life, kids, what you're told to do is to be obedient. It's to be obedient to the system, especially religious systems. Now a religious or a spiritual system should be teaching you to be an individual, to be responsible, to be strong and to grow up. And part of that is to know what's right and wrong, and to have the temerity, the strength, the courage and the gumption to walk away and to stand up. And what religion does is it depowers you. It does not empower you, it depowers you. Because these Catholic religions which are being programmed into children at paedophilic schools are basically saying, give up your power to persons of power, persons of responsibility, who work in the name of God, in the name of Christ, who are ontologically different and who have special spiritual powers. And part of that power seems to be a right to abuse, rape and sodomize children. These children, a lot of these children were told to go into the office knowing that these people were paedophiles, and they did, because they were afraid that they would get into trouble. If you are a child and you are being sexually abused, you must tell somebody. If you cannot tell anyone, you must write an email to yourself or to someone else so that something is logged. You must log these things if these things are happening, because at the moment as a child you don't have the strength, but as an adult you may have the strength, and you may want to report and to put these bad people into prison to help other children. Going back to the story, the worst part is that when he told his mother was more worried about his disobedience walking out of the school than she was about him about to be sexually abused.
I felt that my mother didn't believe me about the risk. It simply did not occur to her that Sopa would be capable of anything bad. She believed that priests were saintly. She wasn't prepared to hear any negative sentiments about clergy.
Now you might think that this is novel, that this is strange, that this is a bad mother. This is actually quite common. And at St Benedict's school, a lot of parents allowed their children to be sexually abused, and they covered up for the church instead of protecting their children. Another case of RCA6, who was being videoed in the shower naked in a PE lesson with other boys, told his mother. His mother went to the headmaster to look at the video but did not tell her son. And she believed that he had other material that he was hiding. She did nothing. She told her son that it was nothing to worry about, and as a result the son, who was being abused in other cases by this bloke who was taking his trousers off and masturbating him, never told his mother. And that monk went on to abuse other people. If you are a parent and your child tells you that they are being sexually abused, and you put the church or your religion, whatever it is, in front of your child, you are a disgrace. It's a spiritual crime. If you have been abused in the UK at St Benedict's school or by a religious institution, you can read this book. It's a brilliant book. It's written by Richard Scorer. I'll put his email in the link down below as well.